Mark chapter 10. I want to start with verse 46. Thank you, worship team and Miss Francine and everyone and all of our band members, all of our media ministry. Guys, will you celebrate them? They are so first class. And I just honor God for all of them. I'm telling you, it's not easy shifting and moving with God, but they are so cooperative and just excellent in spirit. Mark chapter 10, verse 46. Write this, go with me right here. We'll start and we'll go down to about verse 52. It reads, Then they came to Jericho. As Jesus and his disciples, together with a large crowd, were leaving the city, a blind man, this is something. Hear this, guys. I'm telling you, God is speaking in this word. We're in part 3 of our series, Jesus Said. And so Jesus is saying something in this text. Again, I want to start with verse 46, and I'll stop with the blind man for a second. I want to show you something. It says, Then they came to Jericho. The text is loaded. As Jesus and his disciples, together with a large crowd, were leaving the city, a blind man, Bartimaeus, which means son of Timaeus, was sitting by the roadside begging. Man, this text is loaded, guys, because I want you to hear something. First point I want you to hear is that many people preach this text and they call him blind Bartimaeus, but that's not what the text calls him. The text says a blind man, Bartimaeus. Notice something. It's important. I want somebody to hear this morning. It's important that you do not define yourself by what you don't have and what you can't do. Bartimaeus, I want you to hear this. God is speaking to him. Bartimaeus is a blind man. He's not blind Bartimaeus. He's not defined by what he can't do. He's not defined by what he doesn't have. Just like all of us, there's something you can't do, and there's something you don't have. Verse 47, watch this, we're moving in this. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. First, I want you to hear this. He doesn't define himself by what he doesn't have, what he can't do. He's blind, so he doesn't have his sight. He can't see. First, he passed the test of not defining himself by this, but watch next. He also passed the test of not allowing what he doesn't have and what he can't do to stop him from shouting for Jesus. He didn't allow, watch this, what he didn't have, what he can't do, to stop him from shouting for Jesus. We're in this. So this morning, watch what he shouts. I want you to hear something significant. He says, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. Remember now, we're hearing this, hear this now. He doesn't allow what he doesn't have and what he can't do. He is blind. He can't see. He doesn't have his sight. He can't see. And he doesn't allow what he doesn't have and what he can't do to stop him from shouting for Jesus. He doesn't allow, I want you to hear this again, for somebody that's speaking to you, I hear it. What he can't do, what he doesn't have, to stop him from shouting at Jesus. He says, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. Doesn't allow what he doesn't have, what he can't do, stop him from shouting at Jesus. Bartimaeus in this text represents that know how to shout for Jesus. He represents in the text that people who won't let what they don't have and what they can't do stop them from shouting at Jesus. I don't know if there's anybody here this morning that won't stop in your private prayer time and then even in your public praise time. You won't stop no matter what life throws at you from shouting at Jesus. Let me know that you're here. What are you shouting at Jesus? Jesus, bless me. Is this your shout? Jesus, heal me. Is this your shout? Jesus, promote me. Is this your shout? Jesus, use me. Is this your shout? Jesus, be with me and my family. Is this your shout? Jesus, forgive me. Is this your shout? Jesus, fight this battle for me. Is this your shout? Jesus, bring me out of this. Is this your shout? Jesus, handle this situation for me. Is this your shout? Jesus, move on my behalf. Is this your shout? Bartimaeus, he represents people that won't allow what they can't do and what they don't have to stop them from shouting at Jesus. And there are many people, watch this, you only talk to God in prayer, you only shout at God in prayer and in praise when the conditions are right. But it's when you get under pressure that sometimes we lose our shout at God. I want you to hear something right this quickly. We're almost there. Two types of people, two types of people, watch this, shout at God. It is, they shout at God when their faith is passionate, and they shout at God when their pain is desperate. And I don't know which are you in this season. I don't know which one represents you in this season. Either your faith is passionate about something or your pain is desperate about something. But I need you to hear this. Bartimaeus shows us how to handle it. Don't lose your shout at Jesus. And Bartimaeus represents people who still shout at Jesus. Notice now in the text, I'm going to read it. The people are offended by the shout. They tell him to be quiet. But God isn't offended by the shout. Notice that. And then there are people around you, you don't even know it. The things that they do sometimes, the things that they say, because shouting doesn't just happen with the mouth. Sometimes people are crying out even with their actions and their decision making. And sometimes it's important for us as believers to know this when they're shouting for God. There are people making decisions right now all around you, and you don't understand why they're making those decisions. It seems senseless. You like, why are you going back into that relationship? Why are you still messing with that substance? Why are you still making those bad choices? And you've got to be spiritual enough to know they are shouting at God. And maybe they're not shouting with their mouth, but they're shouting in their actions. And some people shout at God because their faith is passionate. And some people shout at God because their pain is desperate. But I believe all people, in one season or another, you're shouting at God. You either need something to happen for you and you just believe God's going to do it, or either something has happened to you and you need God to bring you out of it. And I think this is going to help us with handling people more delicate, because maybe there's somebody you judging that's really shouting at God. Maybe there's somebody that you're misunderstanding that's really shouting at God because their pain is desperate. It's an interesting thing that sometimes we don't take enough time to know each other's story, to know what we're going through, to really understand that maybe the decisions that you make that may not make sense that you're making the decision, but it makes sense a little bit more because I understand that you're shouting at God. And there are people hurting that are shouting at God saying, why me? There are people that are going through things that they don't understand, and they're saying, God, why did this have to happen to me? And then there are people that are shouting at God men, two men. Again, either you're shouting at God because your faith is passionate, or you're shouting at God because your pain is desperate. Which one are you? Which one are you? Gotta take a moment. Which one are you? Because what you can't afford to do, I want you to hear this, you can't afford to stop shouting at God, because when you stop shouting at God, you start shouting at people. See, when you stop shouting at God and depending on God, you start screaming at people and acting out on people about what you're passionate about or what you're desperate about. And I'm encouraging someone, I gotta close this out. Don't stop shouting at God. On one hand, don't stop shouting at God. On the other hand, notice when somebody else is shouting at God, and maybe they're doing it in a way you've never seen it. There are people drinking because they're shouting at God. There are people smoking because they're shouting at God. There are people in wrong relationships because they're shouting at God. Because their pain is desperate. And I don't know who this is for. We are praying for people that no matter what you're in right now, no matter what you're fighting with right now, I'm telling you, don't stop shouting at God. People may tell you to be quiet, and people may misunderstand that you're shouting at God. And again, I want you to hear it. To shout at God isn't always with your lips. Sometimes it's with your actions. But I pray that you won't stop crying out for help if you're in pain right now. I pray that you won't stop crying out in faith if you're in faith and you're passionate about something right now. And you need God to do it. Whichever you represent, I pray that you will never stop shouting at God. Let me know that you receive it. I gotta close this out. And so this explains, sometimes I look at our leaders and especially Deacon Mark, sometimes I notice that you're very passionate in your praying. I understand it better. You're shouting at God. Come on. You don't know what people need from God. You don't know it. Sometimes folks talk about why they being so loud. You don't know what people need God to do. Sometimes I notice Miss Francine, sometimes on certain songs she'll sing with a little, she'll be smooth, and then there are certain songs she begin to get real loud. I understand better. She's shouting at God. You don't know what people are standing in need of. You don't know what people need to break. You don't know. And I believe you can only relate when you'll be honest. I need something to break. I need something to move for me. I need something to change. I believe there's some things that will still happen before this year is out. But it's going to take you shouting at God. He's not offended. See, I don't like you shouting at me, but he doesn't have a problem with it. No, come on, y'all. I'm not by myself. Some of us, we don't like folks shouting at us, but watch this. In the text, God has no problem with us shouting at him. I'm making a transition. It's because people, watch this, often criticize what they don't understand the most. And God is okay with you shouting at him because he understands. He understands what you're passionate about. He understands what you're desperate about. Job said in Job 23, he knows the way that I take. He understands me. I don't have to have a conversation with him for him to understand what I'm desperate about and what I'm passionate about. And I need somebody to receive this. I'm almost at my close. Will you just inhale this? He understands me. He understands me. Man of God, he understands you. Woman of God, he understands you. No, he understands why you go hard like you go hard. He understands why. He understands why you won't stop doing what you're doing. He understands why you made even some of the silly decisions. He understands even if he doesn't agree, he understands. And I need somebody to just take that in for a second. He understands you. Like blind Bartimaeus, the blind man, he understands. People often criticize the most what they understand the least. And sometimes they don't know how to tell you, I just don't understand you. But I need you to inhale this for a second. He understands me. He understands your failures. He understands why you keep making the wrong decisions over and over again. He understands why you made some of the greatest decisions you've ever made. But when the dust settles, I need you to know you serve a God that understands you. You serve a Father who understands you. You follow a Savior that understands you. I need you to just receive that. He understands me. Come on. Come on, will you take a moment? We got to seal it in our spirit. We'll say it 7 times. He understands me. He understands me. He understands me. Come on, y'all help me. He understands me. He understands me. He understands me. God understands me. If you receive that, come on, let me know that you're here. He understands me. Even if he disagrees with me, he understands me. Sometimes that feels good. Sometimes, watch this, the people that can help you the most come out of what you need to come out of, they can assist you the most, are people that at least start with, before I start agreeing or disagreeing, let me just understand you. And so here it is, I want you to see something. He understands Bartimaeus for the same reason that he understands us. I think we got something in common here. He understands. Jesus. He understands that the reason that Bartimaeus is shouting beyond his faith being passionate or his pain being desperate, he's shouting because of what he can't see yet. And this is us. This is us. There are some promises God has made. There's some things that you know is on your life. Favor is on your life. And God's goodness is on your life. Grace is on your life. But sometimes in life, you don't see it yet. How many people, come on, y'all tell me, how many people that you've heard God say, I already did it for you. But if you'll be honest, I don't see it yet. You come up in church, and watch this, you come up in church and the leaders tell you that after you prayed about something, go ahead and believe that it's already done. But you walk away saying, I don't see it yet. And the reason you go back to praying, shouting at God and praising is the same reason Bartimaeus is shouting, you don't see it yet. And sometimes we won't be this real with our Father to say, Daddy, I don't see it yet. There's some things that you told me that I would have by now. I don't see it yet. There's some things you told me that were on my life. I don't see it yet. And some of you this morning, I can feel you. You're struggling with something, with a promise from God. You're struggling with something God told you he's going to do, a prophecy, a dream, all because you don't see it yet. And can I give you good news? He understands that too. Come on, guys, let me know you receive. He understands that too. He understands that we often struggle with promises, with dreams, with vision. We struggle that it's already done. I've been given all things that pertain to life and godliness. That's all the scripture. But the struggle is, I don't see it yet. Notice I didn't stop with I don't see it. The key word is yet. You just don't see it yet. And so I want to show you something in the text. Watch this, and we're closing out. And so Jesus understands Bartimaeus is shouting just like us because of what he can't see yet. Prayer's answered, but you want to see it. You're favored, but you want to see it. You're better than you used to be, but you want to see it. You're changed in ways you never thought you'd be changed. But you want to see it. Your life is on a whole nother level, but you want to see it. You're in a new season. They've been telling you, your mama, your dad, your friends, your pastor, they've been telling you, you're in a new season, but you want to see it. Is that you? You want to see it? Come on. If you want to shout, you want to see it. And so, and God understands that. Something happens in the text. I want you to see something now. With Mark chapter 10. And so Jesus understands why Bartimaeus is shouting. In verse 48, the text says, many rebuked him, Bartimaeus that is, and told him to be quiet. Remember, people criticize the most what they understand the least. Told him to be quiet, but he shouted all the more, Son of David, have mercy on me. Here's something important, guys. Jesus stopped and said, call him. And they called Bartimaeus. Cheer up. On your feet. Jesus is calling you. Verse 50 says, throwing his cloak aside, he jumped to his feet and came to Jesus. In verse 51, Jesus says, ask him the question, this is important, what do you want me to do for you? Jesus asked him. Bartimaeus said, Rabbi, I want to see. See, this part, I got to give you something in a second. But this is a prayer. You got to take this home. This is a prayer for people that know that there are some things that got to happen in 2021. You got to know how to pray now. Watch what the word shows you. Rabbi, Father, Jesus, Son of David, I want to see. I want to see the favor you promised me. I want to see the blessings. You got to know how to pray. The word helps us pray now. See, sometimes you don't know what you can pray until you get the right word now. And for some of you, I need you to take this home, if not all of you. And whatever there is that you're bold enough, your faith is passionate enough, your pain is desperate enough, that you say, look, I really believe that this is supposed to happen in this year. You got to pray a simple prayer. Father, I want to see. Father, I want to see. You may have to speak of your children. For my children, I want to see. For my family, Father, I want to see. And I don't know real quick. I gotta close this out, but I don't know real quick who wants to see something before the year is out. Let me know that you're here. Maybe that's not everybody. Father, you gotta know how to pray now. Father, I want to see. After you're done naming all the stuff, and you're talking to your daddy like you know he's a rewarder of them that diligently seek thee. You got to know how to close that thing out. Father, I want to see. Come on, will y'all practice with me? Father, I want to see. So, this is after Jesus asked Bartimaeus, what do you want from me? What do you want me to do for you? But I want you to see something now. Jesus tells the disciples, go and call him. Tell the people rather. Go and call him. Go and call him. And in the same moment, I want you to see this moment, that Jesus is calling Bartimaeus. Jesus then gives Bartimaeus his sight. I want you to hear the situation. Watch the moment again. In the same moment that Jesus is calling Bartimaeus, Jesus is giving Bartimaeus his sight. How does this align with our lives? Watch this. In the same season that you are calling on God, he's calling on you. In the same season, watch this, I want you to hear it, that you're asking God to do something for him, he's asking you to do something for him. It's the same time, at the same time. You're saying, God, I need you to do this for me. God said, I need you to do this for me. At the same time. This is going to help somebody understand why is God calling you in this season. Because he says, I'm calling you to do something for me, and I'm also calling you because I'm going to do something for you. It's in the same, I want you to see it now, it's in the moment now. And when you won't answer the call to do something for God, you also are not answering the call for God to do something for you. Same time. Will somebody say same time? Same time. Call him to me. I don't know who this is for. God's calling you. God's calling you to do more for him. Some of you, God's calling you. You've never given your life to Jesus. Some of you, God's calling you to a stronger relationship with God. Some of you, God's calling you, watch this, to serve him with more passion and to give him more than you've ever given him before. And you need to understand what the call is all about. The call is about what God wants you to do for him, and he's also calling you because of what he wants to do for you. And when you, I want you to hear this is what makes this call so important. When you reject the call to do something for God, you also reject the call for God to do something for you. This is why serving God is so important. Because oftentimes while you serving God, he wants to serve you. Oftentimes while you're blessing God and you finally wondering, people saying, why should I work for God? Why should I get involved with God's church? Why should I answer the call to whatever your call is to do more? You're called to surrender. You're called to use your gifts for God. But I believe in my heart God is calling us, and we needed to understand what the call is all about. God says, I'm calling you to work for me, to do something for me, and I'm also calling you because of what you need me to do for you. And when you answer the call, you answer both please. I gotta close this out. Are you receiving anything? So here we are. Gotta give you this. We're going home. We needed to know why is it so important to answer the call. It's because the call just isn't about what God wants you to do, but the call is also about what you want God to do. Let me say that to somebody again. This is your word. This is really all you needed throughout the entire word. As you close this year out and you go into the next year, you needed to understand what this call is all about. God says, I'm calling you for what I need you to do. I'm also calling you for what you need me to do. And so, you got to answer the call. I don't know who this is for. See, watch this. The calls are different for different people. Because I know sometimes we think the call is just unto salvation, but for some of us, the call is calling, he's calling you out of something. See, for some of us, the call is he's calling you into something. But I believe under the sound of my voice, everybody, even those watching online, everybody hears him calling. The question in this season is, what is he calling you for? What is he calling you out of? What is he calling you into? What is he calling you to do for him? What is he calling you to do for you? But rest assured, he's calling you. He's calling you. No, that's just not your first mind. That's not just stuff happening out of nowhere. No coincidence. No. God is calling you. And maybe it's not a voice. Maybe something is happening. Maybe it's a dream. Maybe it's a thought that won't leave you alone. Maybe it's a conversation that keeps reoccurring. But for many of you, maybe if I didn't even touch on how it's happening for you, you know by the Spirit of the living God, God is calling you. And you got to close this year how you're going to begin next year. Because you're going to answer the call. The call is for what you will do for him. And also for what he wants to do for you. And so something happens in the text that I'm going to close out with. Watch this. And so the text closes this way. After Jesus asks in verse 51, what do you want me to do for you? The blind man says, I want to see. So we're leaving with our prayer now. God, I want to see. Verse 52 says, Go, said Jesus, your faith has healed you. Immediately, Bartimaeus received his sight and followed Jesus along the road. Go, your faith has healed you. Immediately, he received his sight and followed Jesus along the road. I want to leave you with this thought. What does the unbeliever need to see to follow God? What does the believer need to see to follow God? After he received the sight, the text says, immediately he received the sight, and he followed Jesus. And the question this morning, we're leaving. On one hand, what does the unbeliever need to see to follow God? On the other hand, what does the believer need to see to keep following God?